I've lived in Portland, Oregon for many years, and I've met a lot of people along the way. And from time to time again, I often hear a mistake that a lot of people make. It's choosing the incorrect neighborhood, and it becomes a very frustrating experience. So today, in this video, I'm gonna be covering my top 3 places that if I were moving here with my family and I, that I'd probably choose. And I'm gonna let you know why you should definitely consider these areas here in Portland in 2026. So let's dive into area number 1. Area number 1 is definitely an absolute classic charm of Portland living. Now, it is definitely considered my number 1 choice if I were focusing on outdoor living, but definitely stay tuned to number 3 because I for sure think it's the best of the best when it comes to considering the Portland metro area. Area number 1, it's the Sellwood Moreland area. Now, this is a very unique area because it's situated very close to the Portland's downtown nightlife. Sellwood is one of those few areas here within the Portland metro where you don't actually feel so boxed in. You have close access to proximity to downtown Portland. East, you have access to the east side, and then of course going to Lake Oswego is very, very quick. There's no constant freeway reliance, and so most oftentimes I'm helping a lot of clients move to this specific area mainly because they're tired of living and being so boxed in into the major I-5 and 205 corridor. And then we have lifestyle here in Sellwood. Now there's going to be a multitude of kids and families running around, a lot of people dog walking because it's a very walkable area. Sellwood just feels like an area where life just slows down a little bit, but again, you still have proximity to that urban lifestyle because downtown Portland is so close by. You get the charm without chaos, the charm of keep Portland weird, that Portland heart of living without any of that chaos. And then weekdays, obviously because of work, tends to be much quieter. And then as the weekend comes up, things start to be more lively, more entertainment, but it's not as chaotic as true inner city living in Portland, Oregon. And then you have the schools and communities. This area specifically is a major draw. You see a multitude of parents, families being very active in extracurricular activities, and neighborhood events create a very instant connection, especially for newcomers relocating to the area, but also because the fact that you're actually friends with your neighbors. And so this is a very important characteristic because you can simply just wake up, walk outside, walk to your local coffee shop and meet your neighbors and your friends. At the end of the day, this specific area, when it comes to the schools and community, it's very geared towards that family lifestyle without feeling so isolated whenever you're living in more of the suburb areas of Portland Metro. Then next we have neighborhood variety. By no means there's going to be hardly any new construction. And so when there's little new construction, the value is retained more often. You see a lot of very established neighborhoods, homes that are designed for potentially new buyers, first starter homes, or you get the other opposite end of the spectrum where this is going to be designed for someone trying to find their forever home. Sellwood Moreland has a character. It's unique. It has a vibe because it's not cookie cutters like maybe the greatest suburb areas of Portland Metro. It's different than that. It has a unique feel when it comes to the characteristics of each house. Sellwood, being it so close to Portland Metro, but obviously further enough that you're not dealing with the antics and the chaos of downtown living, typically when a home gets on the market, it's typically met with multiple offers because it is a pretty sought after community. There's hardly any ever excess inventory if something were to pop up. And of course, when it comes to lifestyle and relocation, the valuation tends to be pretty strong. Buyers who try to purchase in this area and don't necessarily plan well, they maybe potentially move elsewhere. They tend to always gravitate towards back because 1, they want that suburban feel, but 2, they want proximity to Portland and the amenities that it has to offer. And then it leads me into restaurants, entertainment, nightlife. Obviously, we're very close to downtown Portland. If you wanted to take a less than 10-minute, drive to downtown Portland to enjoy all those amenities, the nightlife, the clubs, the entertainment, the food, yeah, you can do that. But then you can escape back to that residential Sellwood Moreland area so you can actually have a good thriving with your friends and your family. The nice thing about Sellwood in itself, the Sellwood Moreland area, is tons of actual local businesses. You hardly see any chains. One of my favorite local restaurants is PDX Sliders. No, I'm not affiliated with them, but it's probably ranked one of the best burgers in the entire Portland Metro, so definitely check it out. But these local businesses, you see hardly any turnover, and because of that is because these locals living in these residential areas, the Sellwood and Moreland area, are actually supporting and making these businesses thrive. So less turnover leads to just more of an enjoyable lifestyle that's a little bit more stable for you. So at the end of the day, when it comes to lifestyle choices, you have easy access to that nightlife if that's something you're looking to, but then you can come back home and enjoy that slower pace living that Sellwood Moreland has to offer. And then this leads me to the last point of Sellwood Moreland is the outdoor recreation activities. I mean, you have Oak River Park right there. You have the Willamette River. I take my dog there, I kid you not, every single weekend. You have access to the water, dog leash friendly area, and you just see a multitude of people running, biking. Sellwood is considered one of the most bike friendly areas in the entire Portland metro. And so the hub and the access to nature is really, truly spectacular considering this Sellwood area is so close to Portland itself, Lake Oswego, and then of course the Southwest neighborhoods, but you're very centralized. And so oftentimes you see people commuting back to, if they're working and commuting to other areas of the city. Of course, when it comes to Sellwood Moreland area, street selection is so important. Do you want something that's a little bit more active, more bustling, closer to like the downtown area? Or do you want something a little bit more quiet, but still ease of access? And so that's why street selection in Sellwood Moreland area is so important. And so if you're wondering if Sellwood is the ideal location for you and your family, definitely reach out to my team. We help clients here move into this specific Sellwood area all the time because they don't want to, no longer be living in the I-5 and 205 corridor. My contact information is below, so definitely reach out to my team and I. Now, I want to head into area number 2, which is the Northwest Corridor, Nob Hill, Slabtown. Essentially, this is urban appeal. This is urban lifestyle, very walkable neighborhoods. You really don't have to use a car unless you want to. It's a neighborhood where honestly, everything is within walking distance. When it comes to location and the appeal of that is honestly, you don't have to use a car like I mentioned at the beginning. And so you literally walk outside, you're very central. Of course, you have walking distance towards downtown jobs and that type of lifestyle if that's what you're into. And of course, lifestyle, this is probably the most important factor because like I mentioned, you don't really have to take a car. It's common for someone to wake up, go outside, go grab a cup of coffee, maybe go to the gym, go grocery shopping, go see their friends, go see their families, all within walking distance. That's the benefit of urban lifestyle, is the amenities is very accessible. This is where real city is actually thriving and living. High energy, octane type of lifestyle. And so this is going to be more ideal towards those young couples. Maybe they're young professionals, corporate jobs, corporate careers. Maybe they don't have it. There's no need to plan because everything is literally at your front door rather than actually trying to plan out and making a drive. And then we have school and community focus in this Northwest Corridor area. Now, this is not really geared towards families and kids. This is more geared towards young professionals with that walkability. And so the schools aren't really the main focus here in Northwest. At the end of the day, community is built around common shared spaces and walkability to all those amenities that I've mentioned in this Northwest area. So my honest take to Northwest is this is not the focus of schools. The focus is going to be more geared towards walkability, urban lifestyle, amenities, nightlife, food, the local fairs. If that sounds like you, definitely consider Northwest area because this is going to be totally different from the suburbs that we talked about in today's video. And honestly, that's okay. Everyone has a certain lifestyle fit that they want to enjoy and the experience they want to have whenever they live here in Portland, Oregon. And of course, the neighborhood variety. What type of houses are here? Now, it's by no means cookie cutter. This is a very established neighborhood. And for that reason, and the reason that this is going to be more catered towards those career-focused individuals is you see a multitude of townhomes, condo livings. Yes, there's going to be single levels, but no, there's going to be hardly any cookie cutter options here. So when it comes to those types of lifestyles and those types of living arrangements, the budgets and the options are truly unlimited. All sorts of arrangements depending on what your budget and what your threshold is whenever you're trying to purchase something. At the end of the day, we know that this area here in Northwest is not geared towards that family or that young family lifestyle. And so these are people who are going to be more focused on potentially wanting flexibility because maybe at some time in the future, years down the line, they do want to live out in the suburbs. They do want to start a family rather than being so fixated in one and having something that they actually want to grow roots on. And of course, when it comes to young professionals, most of these professionals, they prefer renting because of that flexibility. And so there's always going to be a strong demand for rent. In that case, when it comes to investment opportunities, you see a lot of investors trying to be landlords or wanting to be landlords. They will end up doing that, maybe potentially purchasing something and then leaving whatever they purchase into an investment vehicle such as rental property, because strong rental demand is really great in this area, because there's always going to be an influx of younger people moving to this area because they want to enjoy all the access and amenities and the food options that Northwest has to offer. And then we have restaurants, shops, and nightlife. Like I've mentioned a few times already in this section, literally the amenities are at your front door. You have access to all sorts of local businesses, local restaurants. And of course, you have access to the nightlife without actually true downtown chaos. And of course, if you wanted to have that downtown chaos, just take literally a 5-minute drive to go to Pearl Street to enjoy what that lifestyle has to offer. Northwest specifically, it's for sure more dense, more urban, but it's great. It's great for date night locations because the access to all these local restaurants is truly unlimited. And then the last section is outdoor and recreation. Obviously, this is urban lifestyle, but what's really unique about Northwest Portland and specifically is you have Forest Park. It is literally right next to you. I'm talking about over 80 to 100 acres worth of trails and miles that you can actually potentially hike. And so it's a unique area that you don't often see times in any other cities that in the entire US. So there's a unique blend of one, nature, but then two, urban lifestyle if you're trying to appeal to that. It's common for me, if I'm wanting to hike in the Forest Park area, it's common for me to just park, go grab coffee at a local brewery, local coffee shop, and then go hiking in Forest Park. And I'm talking over 80 miles, 100 miles of trails, and so multiple trailheads that you can access. And so no hike or no trek is going to be the same. Let's head into the last specific area, which is the Bethany, kind of like that Beaverton area. Now what I mentioned at the very beginning of the video is this is probably the best of the best when it comes to community, when it comes to families, professionals wanting a little bit more of a stable lifestyle. It's one of the best family friendly and future-proof areas because of that reason, because of the proximity to the Nike headquarters, because of proximity to the Intel corridors. Again, this area I would consider for sure the Silicon Forest of Portland, Oregon. Now, obviously, this is going to be less urban lifestyle compared to inner Portland itself, but again, you still have access obviously to the Hillsborough, to the southwest, and of course, slightly south of us is Beaverton. It's a very strategic location for families where they don't want to deal with the actual urban lifestyle. They want something a little bit more quiet and laid back. And they ultimately end up deciding on Bethany is that area. And of course, lifestyle. These are going to be a lot of planned communities. There's going to be a multitude of new construction options. Now, with these new construction and planned community options, there's of course going to be some sort of HOA fee to it. Now, is it going to be a lot? Probably not. But then there's going to be other suburbs that maybe doesn't have an HOA attached to the house itself. And the really cool thing about Bethany itself is, it's a residential community, young family focused area, but you still have access to a whole bunch of parks, kid-friendly areas. You see families running around. It's truly a magnificent area if that is designed for you. And this leads me into the next section, which is school, because this is by far the strongest advocate or the strongest factor on why a lot of the clients that I've helped end up deciding to move here because of the school itself. It's typically ranked number 1 or 2 in the entire Portland Metro for that reason, in terms of graduation rate and all the extracurricular activities that these schools has to offer. So really, these communities of Bethany and the Beaverton area is built around the families. So oftentimes you see parents being very involved in these extracurricular activities and the school events. And really, school zone matters because depending on where you live and where you decide that you want to be in, whether it's the east side or the west side, it's going to be important for you to assess what type of rating that school has. And so reach out to my team and I, because school zones and school ratings is going to be so important for young families like you who are considering moving to Portland, Oregon, but really don't know where to start. We help guide you, my team and I, so definitely reach out. My contact information is here and in the description. Definitely reach out to my team and I, because we'll just help you to see if it really makes sense for you or not. And then we have the neighborhood variety. I mean, yes, this is going to be a multitude of new constructions, but you're going to see some established neighborhoods built in the early 80s upwards to the 2000s. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more entry level, but you still want to be in this top rated A school area, then there's going to be a lot of townhomes, new construction options for you. But of course, there's going to be a lot of larger single family homes that are beneficial with bigger lots and has a yard for you and maybe your pets. And when it comes to appreciation and overall investment appeal, since this is one of the strongest school ratings in the entire Portland Metro, the inventory typically is usually never exceeded. You never see, typically homes are brought with multiple offer situations, and the value and the resale value usually retains its value because of that strong demand of being in those top rated schools. So at the end of the day, there's going to be strong, consistent buyer demand, and that buyer demand usually dictates a strong resale appreciation value appeal. Now, you might be thinking, well, is there nightlife? Is there restaurants? Yeah, but hardly any nightlife. I mean, like I mentioned at the beginning of this section, this is more catered towards the schools, the families, that type of lifestyle. And so when it comes to nightlife, obviously you're probably going to have to go closer to downtown Portland itself, maybe into the hub of Beaverton. Of course, the hub of Beaverton is where the majority of those food options, the amenities, the local fairs that it has to offer, local breweries, local bars, all the restaurants. But you know, the hub of Bethany and Beaverton itself, you still got to have access to these parks. You see kids playing around. It's a very safe and very family-focused area for that reason. It's designed for families. It's designed for more of that stable lifestyle that a lot of these people coming from Intel, coming from Nike, the headquarters, are choosing to live because of that proximity. And of course, we have outdoor and recreations. Like I mentioned very briefly in the previous section, is you're still going to see a multitude of parks. Obviously, Hillsborough and Beaverton is literally less than a 10-minute drive from the Bethany area. And so you still going to have access to all these trails and these parks. And of course, Forest Park that I mentioned, that's close to Northwest, you're also right next to Forest Park, and there's going to be all sorts of new trailheads on your specific side of town. And so yes, maybe it's going to be more geared towards that stable family lifestyle compared to Northwest, but it doesn't mean that you still don't have access to the nature that the entire Oregon state has to offer. Now, of course, if you want the charm and that keep Portland weird vibe, Sellwood for sure. But if you're looking for more of that urban lifestyle, access to amenities, walkable neighborhoods, maybe Northwest Portland is the option. But if you want the best of the best when it comes to schools, that family-focused lifestyle, then Bethany is definitely the place to be. And that's it. I covered my top 3 places that if I were considering moving to Portland, Oregon in 2026, and I was choosing to move my family here, I'd probably choose one of these 3. Drop a comment below where you're potentially coming from. Call me, email me, text me. My team and I, we help clients relocate to some of these areas all the time, almost every single week.